Hello, everybody. Welcome to my drop-in hours today. You're welcome to say hi, ask a question, and we'll see if anybody shows up today. Nobody came yesterday, so if that's the case, I stick around for about 30 minutes and then I can't take it anymore. If you're just joining me, you're welcome to say hi or ask a question. If you're just joining me, you're welcome to say hi, ask a question. If you're just joining me, you're welcome to type a question or say hi. If you're just joining me now, you're welcome to ask a question. If you're just joining me, you're welcome to ask a question, say hello. Hello, if you're just joining me, you're welcome to say hi or ask a question. Hey there, Robert. How old is your son? Nice. Things going well with him? I think we talked last week, right? I feel like we talked last week. Oh, sweet. Yeah. Yeah, usually I'm answering questions and nobody's around today except for y'all. So, yeah, if you can think of a question, I can answer it. Or, let me know what you want to learn about. And what was rough about it? So, this morning, something happened to make him feel left out, it sounds like. If you can kind of give me a little, description of just the situation, kind of what happened, that's a good starting place for me to ask follow up questions. Okay. And so this morning, did he find out that he wasn't invited? Are they there and he's home? Um, and while you type up some details, I'll be right back. Okay, Robert. And yeah, here's kind of where I'm thinking. First of all, I don't ever really start with the idea that a kid is doing something for attention. And that's because A, I don't think it's usually true. And B, that kind of thought is doesn't necessarily give us any kind of like practical thing to do. So we know that he struggles with behavior. He has significant neglect, and so what I would try to kind of say, we have to look at things proactively. So if they're going to be gone, and I'm not sure, I don't. Maybe you answered this, but if they're already gone and he's kind of feeling that, then what we would proactively want to do is like make sure that we're connecting with him, and apparently early, because if it was this morning, that those kind of feelings strike pretty early. So I'm just trying to make sure that we're connecting with him, giving him that attention while the siblings are doing something. Because yeah, I mean, it can definitely feel like rejection, but what's going on is he's having a response to that, and that's what leads to behaviors like property destruction. And so he needs connection, and that is a form of attention. I just like to word it a little bit differently. But the question is, why does he need the connection? I'm going to say it's because he's having a negative response, maybe to feeling left out. And so, he doesn't have the skills to manage that, which is why we have to do it by co-regulating with him. So, yeah, just trying to be proactive in that. And, yeah, just while the siblings are gone, make sure he's feeling connected. And you might be typing, so I have another thought when you're ready. Just let me know. Good. The connection is very important. So, Robert, so what you're telling me is when he gets in groups, he seeks attention through doing things he knows is against what he knows to be right. Now, I'm a literal thinker, okay? So when I read that, I'm picturing a kid who is aware that he shouldn't be doing something, but is saying to himself, "I want this attention, so I'm going to do it anyway." And I don't think that's how it works. And so, we can look at what attention does, but also I would say, well, maybe he's dysregulated when he's around groups, which would make sense, right? Maybe that increases the chance of impulsive, inappropriate behaviors, not because he's seeking attention, but because the group dynamic for whatever, or the pressure to perform, could very well kind of influence that, if that makes sense. And so, really, what we would want to do in any case, whatever our interpretation, is to try to practice these situations ahead of time in a good place. And as much as possible, what we as adults tend to do is say, don't, like, if we're talking about strangers, don't go with a stranger. Or if we're talking about social skills, don't do this or don't do that. But what we want to do is make things practical. So can we practice an interaction either through role play, or some other way to do it, but to think, maybe part of the reason why the impulsivity goes up is because he doesn't know what to say. So if we tell him and work with him proactively on, here's a question you could ask, and literally say them out loud, that's a different way of processing. We can see if that has an effect. That might help him feel a little calmer in the moment or more regulated. You also want to look at, before social interactions, how is his sensory system? So assuming he struggles with sensory issues, can we do something right before the interactions that is soothing? One-on-one maybe, and then see if that has an impact, because that would be a time for us to, connect, calm the sensory system, and then remind him of any reminders we want to give him in that moment before he goes in, and we can see if that has an impact. And some of this may not, right? You might try it a few times and it doesn't, but that gives us information if it works or if it doesn't work, because there's so many things that could be playing a part in here right now. Another route on the he needs attention thing that we could go. Oh, hold on, I'm reading what you're saying. Yeah. And that's totally fine. So you are helping him pre-think about situations. And so then by practicing, which is a step before or a step beyond the reminding, we can see if that helps to process it as well. So then you have like kind of three layers there. You have the practice that you did, then you have the cue right beforehand, and that increases the chances of things going better. And of course, you can't plan for everything, but the idea is that we're creating safety by having these conversations. So when things don't go according to plan and there's still an issue, not in the moment, of course, but when we're in a good place, we can maybe reflect on it with him and then come up with a specific plan for that and keep that process going. And then, so the other thing I wanted to suggest, I don't know if some people who are seeking connection, obviously, there could be many things, but a lot of times for for young kids with FASDs, the person who's with them is actually helping them think through a lot of different scenarios. So it's not just the connection in that case. It's when I'm by myself, right? Or if nobody is helping me to engage, I can't engage. And so as a way to actually participate in what the heck is going on in this moment, if I am usually reliant on somebody coaching me through that, then to not have that could be scary, right? Because then it demands much more of the brain, probably of skills that he doesn't have. And so that may not apply to him at all, by the way. That's something I want to throw in there, just as a possibility to explore. For the rage, I know people usually want me to tell them what to do to help with the behaviors, and I'm a little bit hesitant to do that because that tends to get our focus on the behaviors. So I don't, and that can be a problem. And so I don't want to necessarily engage, in terms of how do we stop a certain behavior from happening, because almost certainly the question really is how do we stop, how do we prevent the escalation from happening? The issue isn't really the behavior, it's the dysregulation. And so kind of what we've been talking about now, that is one way potentially to decrease stress and decrease escalation. So the big answer to that question is we talk with him and have a plan, much in the same way that we would if we were prepping for a social interaction. But this is a prep for what can we do when you get mad. And it has to be, individualized, because it could be one of many things. And I'm sure you've had these discussions before, and that this is, of course, you or him coming up off the top of his head of what could work. But the question is, what does work, and how do we get it to play out in the moment, and then have his buy-in into that. So I would make a plan with him about what in terms of what you guys know about what is one or two things maybe that he can do when he gets upset. I would suggest visualizing these, like as you're talking, drawing pictures, write it out, however he learns. Consider also talking to him about the fact that, and this is true for everybody, when we get mad, even if we have a plan like we're making right now, it's hard for us to do it. We're so mad that we think the plan is stupid, and that's normal and that's okay. And so then the question in those moments when things are happening, we want to remind his brain, preferably without talking in most cases, that, hey, a plan applies here, I need to follow it. And if we verbally say it, that usually leads to immediate opposition, which is fine, but the problem with that is we as adults will then reply to the opposition, and then we have a back and forth. And generally speaking, we don't want to be talking, because talking demands things of him at a time where he cannot do it. When he's enraged, all of his skills are down. And so then the question is, what does he need? If he's seeking connection, just not talking is not necessarily the right thing. So that's what we want to ask and maybe brainstorm about, is how do you need me to help you? Maybe you'll just give him a hug without talking. Maybe you'll remind him what the plan is. Maybe the plan is he'll spend some time alone to calm down and then come out and get a hug. So make it a very concrete plan that you guys can practice when he's doing well, and then we see how it goes. So there's a lot of things I just said there, so you could ask a follow-up question if you'd like. If you're joining us, you're welcome to ask a question. I got about 20 minutes left. You're welcome. And generally the ideas that we want to be implementing, like to calm down, it might be sensory. So whether it's going to his room and taking deep breaths, which is kind of the usual one that kids don't do, or trying to identify like an actual physical movement or sensation or whatever kind of calms him on that sensory level. So one thing we might want to try to do is having prompts for what he needs to do, like maybe for example, in his room. So then we can just send, or sorry. So if we can do that, then if he's in his room, at least, even if he's mad, he can see the reminder, and then when he's calm enough, he might start to engage. So we're not going to expect that he's going to immediately engage in a coping skill, because that's not how most of us work. There's going to be that period of anger. So then the goal is to follow the plan as much as possible and give him the time he needs. So, yeah. So your involvement preferably ends at the very least when you prompt him that the plan is happening. And then if he can go into another area, calm down enough, even though he's mad, maybe he'll see the prompt, and then, yeah. A physical reminder. Yeah, I would say a visual, if he's cool with that. Something that you print from the internet, maybe something he draws. In some situations, like I think it should be something showing the breathing, and so if he's struggling with breathing in the moment, even though they help, then that's something that you can put into the routine to practice, because we want to be practicing this plan somewhat frequently. So even if he's not doing it in the moment right away, if he's still doing the breathing like once a day for a while, or maybe once a week, as you guys kind of develop and maintain this plan and practice it proactively, I don't know, but I would think it would increase the chances of him starting to use it more in his everyday life or with you. I have about 15 minutes left. If you guys have not answered or asked a question or said hi, you're welcome to. Sounds good, Robert. Sweet. since nobody else seems to be on, Robert, unless you have any other questions, I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut this a little bit short. And if you have questions, please ask them. I don't mind answering them at all. Cool. Have a good one. Thanks, Jacob.